This is Unmuted with my girls, Z and Ross the Boss. Talk about it, ladies.
Hey, y'all, we back. Part two. I told y'all I had a whole lot more to say because I know that Z has way more questions. I don't know how many. I'm gonna be just as caught off guard as y'all are. So, thank you for tapping back in for part two, where you get to know a little bit more about Ross and the boss. Why did I sound like Pepe Le Pew just now? Ross the boss.
I don't know. I thought you were trying a voiceover or something. I was just letting it happen, you know?
Listen, what if it's an opportunity to monetize it? Yes, please and thank
100%.
you. 100%. So, but definitely thank y'all for tapping back in. Thank you to everyone who has liked, followed, and shared and left comments on the previous episodes. Please, please, please continue to do that. Um, Z, don't hurt me too bad in these questions. Z, don't hurt me too bad in these questions, friend. Because the other ones had me a little worked up. I had to like stretch. I had to get a light refreshment, get my heart rate under control. And again, I already called out the fact that I'm a woman of a particular age. Okay.
Okay.
So take it easy on me a little bit on this next round of questioning. Okay.
I'll try. But I come with all the good questions that the audience wants to know. So I'm just representing what the audience wants to hear. Is all I'm saying.
You represent the people. You're the people's champ. I got it.
I'm the people's champ.
You're people's champ. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Damn.
All right. So thank you for that awesome intro. Round two. But before round two, because this is always very important, friend, what is the last show that you've binge watched in a while?
Buddy,
the switch up.
Okay, the last show I've been binge watched was Beauty and Black. Listen, it's just so good. It's just good. And okay, so I know it might be a little controversial to say. Tyler does not always make things that are for me. But this one,
it's for you.
It's for me, 100%. I am here for all of the foolishness, darling. 100%. I am down for women finding their power in their voices and like tapping in together to take over some things. Love it. So, Beauty and Black right now. I just finished. I actually watched it 2 times because it was that good to me.
Dang, so, I'm trying to catch up.
Like, you better get there.
So, if you were like myself that was thinking that I was on season 3, you're wrong. There's only 2 seasons, and the seasons are just fairly long. So if you think you're caught up, you're not caught up because I'm trying to get caught up. So,
and the thing is you was loud and wrong because you came in my neck like, no, season 3. I said, there's not 3 seasons. You were just like, but yes, there is. I was like, there is not.
To be honest, April, our friend April Lugo, she was on the same page with me. And I just want to say that.
Well, and I just want to point out that both Latinas were wrong.
It's okay. It's okay because we checked, we researched, and we were able to be like, yeah, we were dead wrong. Like we were. It's okay. Anyways, Beauty and Black.
Yes, 100%. So for you, friend, same question. What have you been binge watching?
Let me think. I've been watching a lot of stuff. I ain't even gonna lie. Let me see. What's the most recent? Okay. So I'm gonna be very honest right now. So growing up, I mostly watched telenovelas because that's what my mom was watching on TV. So I know a lot. Like that was. My boyfriend blames how I'm sometimes slightly dramatic on my watch of telenovelas, but what does he know?
He's in the room. Just a reminder, he's in the room. The call is coming from in the house. The call is coming from in the house.
Okay, so maybe he's right. My daughter's already sided with his team with him on the fact that I'm a little dramatic. It's okay. So
Mhm.
recently I've been watching telenovelas. So I've been watching a few of the newer ones because I stopped for a while. So I downloaded the app VIX, and they have all of the old school
Mhm.
novelas, the new ones. Check it out because there's a bunch. So for those of you
Yeah.
telenovela watchers
Mhm.
out there, if you want to go back
Mhm.
and rewatch some of them, that's the spot. Or if you want to watch some of the new ones that are currently streaming, that's the place. So yeah, so I'm not gonna say how many telenovelas I'm currently binge watching because we don't have time for that, friend. We are gonna put you back on the hot seat. This is
So
getting to know.
question for those of us getting to know us about got it.
Yeah.
But for those of us who are not fluent Spanish speakers, are there telenovelas that are in English that like we could, go down a wormhole on?
So okay, I don't know because I know that there's soap operas and in English, and like for example, I think Days of Our Lives are one of them. But this is a
Mm-hmm.
difference, okay? I haven't watched it. I just read about these things. But I hear that the English version, the soap operas go on and on and on. Like there's no
Correct.
ending.
Correct.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, for me, that's too much. For the telenovelas, we have like either 50, 60, 100 episodes, but there's an ending. And like, I'm invested with that
Mm-hmm.
ending.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, so I think though, there should be like subtitles because sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I like to watch like the Turkish soaps. Those are really good. And most of the time you have to have the subtitle on. So I
Yes.
personally don't mind that because you get to still like you hear their dialogue and then you get to like read what they're talking about. I personally don't mind that. So I do think I'll do a little bit more research that there are like, subtitles and all of that available within the app.
Nice, nice, nice. That is good to know. And definitely shouting out, you said Days of Our Lives. I was like, oh, you in the crates. Because the fact that you did not say Young and the Restless,
Oh,
because
I don't
Victor
know. I've
Young,
never watched it.
Nikki, all of that. So like again, if you had a praying grandma,
Mm,
she 100% was out here with General Hospital and
mm,
Days of Our Lives. But if they were a true soap opera watcher, Young and the Restless is where that
mm.
was. Victor has been around. Victor has impregnated everybody. Victor is
Oh wow.
277 years old. 277.
See what I mean? There's
Miss
no
Chan,
ending.
yeah, there's no ending. Miss Chancellor, I think she passed away maybe 10 years ago or whatever. But like as soon as you say those names, everybody's like, yeah, I know exactly who that is because they never went anywhere. And I think the only problematic thing, and I don't know if this is the same situation with telenovelas, but they will replace somebody and you will just get an announcement on that episode.
Mm-hmm.
The role of Ricky is now being played by Sean. Who is Sean? Sean don't even look like the last Ricky.
At least y'all get an announcement. We all of a sudden it's like Elena, and then it's like this is Elena, but it's not Elena. Like we've known Elena, and that's not her. Like what?
Yeah.
So
All of a sudden, they go from like kid to they're a teenager to they're an adult and they
yeah,
got kids. How we get here? How we get here? What?
that's what I'm
Like
saying.
17 years later.
That's what I'm
No.
saying. We don't do all that. And the telenovelas, like in Spanish, for the most part, it's a certain number of episodes, and that's it. There's an ending. So
Got you.
I don't know.
Got you. Got you. Got
But
you.
but yeah, so that's what I'm currently on. I was also watching on Netflix. What is it? Dang it. It's about a cult. Trust me. It's called Trust Me. It's about a cult.
Mm-hmm.
So I like watching novelas, true crime, reality TV. But I also like to like learn about all that culty stuff. I don't know why. My boyfriend just looks at me a little funny sometimes, and I'm just like, look, whatever. I'm trying to like be well versed. So that's a pretty interesting.
And you're gonna sleep with one eye up because what you're not gonna do is accidentally stumble into a cold, right?
He's like, why are you watching true crime or like culty stuff? Are you trying to tell me something? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, quite the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
honey.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. So
so yeah, so that.
I Yeah, I will share a funny story, and I know we're gonna get back to my questions, but and I know that my mom is probably plucking me in the forehead from the Most High because she knows what story I'm about to tell.
Oh God.
So very similar to you, friends. I am 100% into true crime, everything, and have been. I remember one of my aunts gave me my first book, and I was like 13. And ever since then, I have been into, true crime, serial killers, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I don't know what my mom had done to me at that point, and I think I was like 16. And she asked me to go get her some Kool-Aid. And for those of you who don't remember Kool-Aid, okay, it is a powdery substance that you put into water, and you add sugar until God tells you to stop pouring said sugar. hmm
Yeah,
And
that's
you
true.
stir it with all of your upper body strength, all of it, because the sugar is thick, right? So my mom was like, "Hey, go get me a cup of Kool Aid." So I was like, "Okay, yes, ma'am." So I go get the Kool Aid, and I don't know if we hadn't seen eye to eye on something prior to, or maybe there was a look on my face. I don't know what I was giving her, but I go to hand her this cup of Kool Aid, and she was like, "Nah, you drink it first." Sis, why? And I'm looking at her like, what? And she's like, you take a sip first.
Oh no. To make sure it has no poison in it.
Who did you raise, sis? And if you, listen, how badly were you treating me that you thought I was going to poison you?
Listen.
So I remember just busting out laughing, like, what? And she was like, you drink first. And I said,
Oh.
I mean, okay. So I took a little sip and gave it to her. And then she's like, yeah, she gonna get on my face. And I was like, and I giggled all the way down the hall. And then later on, I saw that she had not drank it at all. She poured it out. And I was like, Brad, like,
She said she don't trust you, bro.
I don't trust it. And I said, what was I out here giving you? But at the same time, sleep with one eye up. Treat me right.
Or else. Or else.
Or else. I did not put anything in your Kool-Aid, sis. But,
That is crazy. That is crazy.
mm-hmm,
Oh man.
mm-hmm.
All right. So now, after after all these, after the wonderful question of the whole binge watching, we're gonna go into some real questions.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you for bearing with us. You know. All right.
We promised
So
foolishness. We promised
we
foolishness, Z. We
did.
promised
We
foolishness.
did. I feel like if we don't deliver on that promise, I feel like who are we? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all right. So Ms. Ross the boss, I know this, but tell our audience, what does proudly representing Roanoke, Virginia mean to you?
Two up, two down, always. Um, I love where I am from. Period. Point in the blank. Anybody who is watching this who knows me will be like, "Good God, yes, she does." Um, I
She does.
have 100%. I have a whole tote of Roanoke t-shirts, sweatshirts, headbands, all the things. If you come to my house, there are Roanoke blankets. I gift people Roanoke items. I have Roanoke Christmas decorations. I love where I'm from. And the reason that I love where I'm from is because I'm a product of where I'm from,
Hmm.
always and forever. I am the product of the investment of all the people who saw who and what I could be, who did not have to. I am a product of that grandmother that we talked about in episode one, and my family, for the most part, still lives locally in Roanoke. I am 100% a product of the city that made me, and I proudly wear that. I don't know how I can say that I'm proud of myself and I say I'm proud of where I'm from. And I think that other people in larger communities, larger cities get to say, oh, they represent Chicago, they represent New York. What is wrong with saying I represent Roanoke, Virginia, the star city that made a star,
Mm.
that
Mm.
makes, and because here's the difference. And I'm not even talking about me being a star. I am talking about everybody who gets to look out of their windows and see that star on that mountain has the potential to live into their greatness. And 100%, we have some amazing people who are doing amazing work in community and are doing amazing work in the state, doing amazing things in the US and in this world. So 100%, I'm a product of where I'm from. And I'm always going to rep that. So I joke with the mayor, Joe Cobb, one of my really good friends, and Representative Sam Rasool, who also, both of them represent Roanoke very well. Sam actually being from Roanoke, and Joe being a transplant who is a very, very big advocate for the city. We have a competition, and I always joke with them that y'all don't know that we're in competition, but we are, of who has the best Roanoke gear. So every time I go to an event, they'll have on their Roanoke gear, and I have on my Roanoke gear, and I'm like, so who wins? And as the people's champ in the Roanoke gear department, I tell them all the time, you never gonna catch me because I put Roanoke on everything. I even have it tattooed on the back of my arm. That's how committed I am to being locked into to where I'm from. And the one thing that I love is that there has been a resurgence that's happening in community of people who are from the city, who have left the city and come back to pour back in. Because if all of the talent, if all of the brilliance leaves the city, what does it leave for the next generation to see the possibilities of who they can be? So it is beautiful that now we're seeing people who have left, whether they've left for education or left for experiences, are now coming back and pouring back into community. And I'm happy to be a part of that legacy of being able to pour back in.
I love that. I'm still waiting on my Virginia
Mhm.
gear, by the way. Just saying.
I got you. A care package on the way. Say less.
All right, all right.
Mhm.
Okay. So, with that being said, when did you feel most seen in your identity? And when have you felt invisible?
Hmm. Okay, most seen. I'll share this story. Um, I um, am always proud of myself in everything. Right. And you have people who feel like identity shows up, a particular way. So I don't have to go in and make an announcement that I'm a black female. You see that, when I walk into a room, this don't come out. So a lot of times I'll like lick my hand and rub it like this is always here, right? But when it comes to my LGBT identity, that's one. Even though a lot of times I don't have to make announcements because people just make assumptions, whether that's good or bad. It has to be good in my favor because 100% I am a part of community and I wear that proudly. But one of the greatest moments that I had of being seen was there was a young lady I was dating who uh, had a child, and I remember we were just talking about superpowers and strengths because she navigates the world with ADHD, and I was telling her how like I felt like her ADHD was her superpower
Mm.
because like sometimes people again want to put those labels and stigmas on things to sort of keep a thumb on people to keep them like different from everybody else. But one of the things I was sharing with her was like, do you understand how amazing you are? The fact that like I remember there was a time where she was like multitasking. She was like watching TV, listening to music, and reading a book. And I was like, and I'm like, why you got all these things? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, I was reading a book. And I was like, but your TV's on loud. You got Mariah Carey playing over here and you reading a book. And she was like, yeah. I was like, there's no way you know what that book says. And she was like, yeah. So then she just broke it down to me. And I was like, do you know how beautiful your brain is? The fact that most people struggle to just get one thing done. And you're doing all of these things. Like, imagine how powerful you are when you lock into all those things, right? And she just looked, she was like, really? And I say, girl, this is amazing. And she was like, I didn't think about it like that. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So we were talking about superpowers. And she's like, Shamel, you know what your superpower is? And I was like, what? And she was like, being gay. And I said, oh,
Okay.
huh? Excuse me? Excuse
Repeat that.
me?
Repeat
And
that real quick.
I'm sorry, what did we say? And she said, no, the fact that you are proud of who you are and you don't apologize about it. And not only are you proud for you, but you're proud for other people. And she was like, other people who might not be as comfortable, you make them comfortable because you are so proud of who you are. It gives them no reason to not be proud of who they are.
Mm.
So that's your superpower. And that just like touched my heart because like kids sometimes can say hurtful stuff, right? So you always thinking that they're being little smart asses, right? But when she said
Right.
that and I just saw the seriousness on her face, it like touched me. And then even all of these years later, she's older now, and I just had the pleasure of being in her presence a few weeks ago, and she brought it up again, and she's like, and she's telling a table full of people, Shamel's superpower will always be that she's gay because she's never apologetic about it, and she walks boldly in it. And then just to see her like again sit confidently with that face and sort of shake her head means that she meant it. And that was one of the things that now, like when people ask me what my superpower is, I always say that because that meant so much to me. The moments where it feels invisible um, is when there are things happening to community and it feels like nobody cares. And I'm not even just talking about LGBT community. And Z, I know that we actually, we talked about in episode one. That's the thing that brought us together was like when people just turn a blind eye to somebody else's suffering or pain until it's their turn, until it's their community or their thing that they want people to care about. But where were you when it was not you?
Mm-hmm.
You can't ask for support and not be of support. You can't ask for an advocate and not be an advocate for other people. You can't come to pride parades. You can't come to drag shows and be innocent. And then when things are happening in the community, you turn around and give us, keep your dollars, give us your support.
Amen.
Write the letters, advocate for. But we are not, our existence, regardless of what marginalized community we're talking about, we are not here for your entertainment. We are not here for you to come to our restaurants and order food in a horrible Spanish accent. We're not here for that at all. We are not here to be like your sex symbol. We're not here for that. We're not here for your entertainment. We're not here for your joy or existence. So if you can't support us, don't come over here to be entertained or be like in the celebratory moments. So I think that part is really hard for me when it comes to like feeling invisible of just like, feeling like your existence is only something that is to be like the sparkles and the glitter. But
Right.
so in Black community, we say all of our rhythm, but none of our blues. So that doesn't feel right. So that's the part that feels invisible and feels hard. And then you're screaming into a nothing. You're screaming at people's backs,
Yep.
and that feels very disheartening. There was a letter that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from the Birmingham jail when he was arrested, talking about, and I'm going to bastardize this and I apologize, but he was talking about how the worst thing in the world is the silence of your friends
Mm.
because you expect that from your enemies. But where are your friends in your time of need? And I remember reading that letter. I went to a MLK Day event, and the speaker quoted it, and I went back and read the letter. And when I tell you, it hit me in my heart. And I immediately reached out to you, Z, and a couple of friends who just happened to be from the Hispanic community to say, we can't do this. We can't do this. I cannot sit quiet. I won't sit quiet. And at the same time, I can't call myself a friend if I see an experience happening for you and not speaking up about it. So that to me is one of the moments where the silence is deafening and it's hurtful. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. So yeah,
And we appreciate you very much for that because it was very silent. And then her letter came like right in the right moment where you just felt invisible. You felt like everybody was quiet. Like, in a way, sometimes quietness feels like you agree with what's happening. So, even that,
mm-hmm.
even you sending that letter to us, letting us know you support, you like you're with us, that meant a lot. And you didn't have to make a big public announcement. Just knowing that we had you in our corner and you had our back and we have yours, that was enough for us. And then so we invite you to do the same. We're not saying make a post about everything or be public about it. We know how it is. The hate is real, the social media hate is real, but reach out to your friends if you know they're going through it. Like, you never know who might need that letter or that word of encouragement.
Absolutely. And then I think too, just to elevate it just a little bit, don't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Z is talking about that letter that I sent, I didn't just send a letter. It was 100% we're walking in solidarity together, period. And from
Mm-hmm.
that moment, after that letter went out to everything moving forward, it is this is what I have two hands for, to be of service.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that looks like. So it is not just like, oh, I get a participation trophy because I sent this letter saying I'm here if you need me, and then put the onus on y'all to say like, hey, just tell me how I can help. Fuck that. No,
Yep.
absolutely not. It is also like what I am going to say. Hey, I don't want to overstep, but 100% I'm showing up. These are the ideas I have in my off base. What can we collaborate on together? And again, that's what led us to here and a lot of the relationships and the connections that we've made because it is about continuously showing up because the fight ain't over. It's
Right.
not over.
It's just starting, honestly.
Correct. Correct.
Yes, yes, I agree. So thank you for that.
No problem.
All right. So, how do you navigate being both a nurturer and a disruptor? I thought you
Well,
would
if you
like
ask
that
other
one.
people,
depending on who depending on who you ask.
yeah, she gonna shake a table, honey. She gonna shake a table. I think two things can exist at the same time, right? One of the things that people have heard me say a lot because one of the things I'm proud to be is Southern. 100% Virginia is in the South. For the people who have questions about this, yes, I get it. Northern Virginia does not feel like the South. Heard it's still part of Virginia. Virginia is in the South. Okay. So one of the things that I would say is the Southern charm, a little sugar shit sugar. And people was like, what's that mean? I was like, for Southerners, they get it. It's like any message that you have, especially if you know it's one that is going to be difficult for folks to digest. We love on you on the front end, deliver the hard message, hug you on the back end, right?
Mm.
So it's sort of like a little sandwich that we give you of we're gonna love on you to open you up to be able to get the message in there. And then we go hug on you on the back end because we understand that it might have been a little hard for you to receive. So a little sugar shit sugar
Mm.
is how I sort of navigate those spaces. Um, and I think too also being consistent, right? There should never be a time where anybody is caught off guard by anything that I say because I'm consistent in where I stand on things. And I'm also consistent if my mind has changed on something of going back to the same place where I was loud and wrong, or either loud and right and saying, hey, I'm amending where I stood on something. So I think that for me, that um, authentic to who I am. So that nurturing piece of me, 100%, that's always going to be a thing. I'm always going to be honest with you because I always want you to be honest with me. I don't need people telling me that I'm always right because I'm not.
Mm. Facts.
I'm not. And the only way that I get better is by people holding me accountable because I'm damn sure going to hold you accountable. So the people who are in my circle are people who will be honest with me when I do something wrong. And hopefully I love you enough to be able to receive it. I might not be able to receive it in a moment, but one thing I am is an overthinker. So I'm going to think about what we talked about. I'm going to think about what you said, and 100% we're going to spin the block and go ahead and have a conversation on, where there might have been a misunderstanding or where I might have been wrong. So, mhm,
Love that. Love that. Thank you
mhm,
for
mhm,
sharing, friend. All
mhm.
right. So I think you'll be proud of this next question.
Okay.
What does it mean to be a Black queer woman in leadership spaces today?
Mm, that's an interesting one. I think right now, especially, there is an exhaustion and a tire that is happening um, for Black women in general. And then I think anytime you add another thing, to what you are, I think that additional um, uh, burden of what that identity feels like, as well as the the benefits of what being those communities are. There's always a give and go with that, right? And right now, it just feels sometimes very overwhelming. I think that again, going back to that feeling like you're screaming down a hole, right? So, I think people are so tired of the number of like, the 90+% of Black women who showed up. You're tired of hearing that, but it's the truth. And the thing of Black women have always showed up, and not even just for the interests of Black women, but just for everybody. And just to sort of feel like, why do we keep doing this if it doesn't matter what we say? But then the expectation is that we come and fix. So I think it feels very overwhelming and very tiresome right now in community because it was funny. I had an event that I spoke at in February for Black History Month, and a lady stood up and said at the event, like, well, what are Black women going to do? And I saw the faces of all the Black women in the room. And I said, if I don't answer this right, they're going to jump me when I leave.
100%. 100%.
Like, okay, I can't let this is down right now. I can't. And I was on a panel with two gentlemen, and they both looked at me like, "Sis, you got this," and I was like, I got it." And I said, "Okay." And I just had to be honest with her of like, before I could even say we're tired, somebody else in the audience screamed, "We're tired. We're tired. We're tired of, trying to do what's in the best interest of everyone. And then also feeling like when there are things that directly impact Black women, it is, why are y'all so loud? Why are y'all so, why are y'all so? It's hurtful and it's a burden, 100%. And people don't like to hear this. The United States of America exists because it was fed off of the boob of a Black woman. Period. But we want to hide those pieces of history and act like that's not a thing. When we talk about people who stepped in to free people, and not just talking about slavery, but just in general, like there's a rare moment when Black women weren't a part of that. So it's just one of those things that, not saying that we are better than anyone else, because that's not the truth. And not saying that nobody else has done a thing, but over in an abundant amount, Black women have always shown up. And not to be able, not to get that recognition or not to get that support when it's our turn or we have a situation that's happening to us and people just ignore it. That doesn't feel nice. And then you throw queer in there because, again, to be fair, one of the big things too is like, sometimes all your skin folk ain't your kin folk. So they cool with you being when it's a Black issue, but then you throw gay in there, it's like, no, ain't us. no, you keep that gay stuff over there.
Yeah.
No, that's not where we at right now. We're not talking about that. And I'm like, I can't turn that off just like I can't turn off being black. Just like I can't turn off being a woman. Just like I can't take these glasses off and you expect me to see. Right.
Yeah. It's
So
a
I
part
think
of
that
you.
sometimes that feels it's a part of who I am. So I think it's one of those things like when you throw those additional identities and stuff, it feels very heavy. But the one thing that I will say is that community doesn't quit. I think that people hear like, hey, take your rest because this is not a sprint; it's a marathon. So when you see, black women tapping out, it's tapping out because they need to recharge. My therapist always said something to me, especially for me in general. She said, Shamel, sometimes you stay in the fight too long.
Mm.
And I was like, what's she mean? And she was like, sometimes it's okay to just take a break, recharge, and then go back to it. So right
Yeah.
now, when people hear that, it's like all that community is saying right now is take a break because we don't ever get to tap out. Just taking a break to recharge and then coming back because again, you want to come back stronger than before. You want to come back refreshed
Mm-hmm.
so that you know that this is a long fight that's going to continue. Because even like if we're talking about current administration, I'm a political science major, there's going to be ebbs and flows, right? So after this
Mm-hmm.
administration is done, it'll be the next one. We don't know who's going to, win the next election. So there's always going to be somebody who has to like, advocate for something that means something to them. So the fight is a long one and it's a lifelong one. So the moments
Yeah.
where you need to take a moment and step back and recharge, that's okay. But what does not feel good is people telling you that you don't get to. So I think that is where it feels a little heavy right now, and it feels like as a collective, black women in general have stayed in the fight too long, and they just need to recharge.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I know I can speak for myself, and it's just crazy that this happens, but it's a reality. The history books don't have a lot of these stories about the truth, like you were just mentioning, about black women in America, or even
Mm-hmm.
from our side, the Hispanic or Latino
Mm-hmm.
version of it. So then that's
Mm-hmm.
why these spaces are created, so we can have those open
Mm-hmm.
conversations, because sometimes we don't understand each other because we don't know the history behind until we like start asking
Mm-hmm.
questions, or until people like you, people like me, start speaking up about some of the things that are not spoken, which again, why we have unmuted, right?
Mm-hmm. 100%.
All right, we're getting to the end, friend, and you're doing amazing. um
Pressure,
what
pressure, pressure, pressure.
pressure, the end is the best, so what generational patterns are you intentionally breaking?
I think one of the big ones, and again, shout out to my therapist. I'm not gonna say her name because she always gets on me like,
Mm.
"You got my name out here in the streets, Shamel. You got my name everywhere."
You're giving her too much work, Shamel.
She was like, "Listen, I feel like my name is on the bathroom walls everywhere now." It's like, maybe you're welcome. Um, but one of the biggest compliments that she gave me was about my intentionality in breaking curses and things that I did not like in growing up. One of the big ones I didn't like, and I still don't like when people say it, is like having a kid stay in a kid's place. I get what they're saying, but I think that sort of makes young people feel undervalued, like their opinions and their thoughts don't matter, and that's not true. Because I guess the question I would have is when is the switch when they do matter, when they get to exist, when they get to speak, and at what point are you preparing them to then be able to speak, to be able to feel like their voices matter? Because it's not like all of a sudden at 18 they're like, oh, okay, yeah, because now my opinion matters. That's not how that works, right? So for all of the young people in my life, 100%. Like one of the things that I have done with my young pups is um, we have come to Jesus weeks if needed. So what that means is if there's something that is heavy on their hearts that they want to say, they'll say, Shemai, I need to have a come to Jesus. And I'm like, okay. That means none of this and all of this, right? So I'll give you an example. My youngest nephew, he is 14 now, and he I was just playing around with him, and I was like, "Hey, you little loser! Like, what's up, man? You little loser!" He was like, "Yeah, I don't like it." And at this point, he was like 7. He's like, "Yeah, I don't like
Mm.
it." And I was like, "You like what?" And he was like, I'm not a loser." And I was just joking. So I was like, he's like, "I'm a loser." He was like, "Auntie, I don't like that. I'm not a loser." And I'm still being playful, man. I'm just joking. He was like, "I don't like it."
Mm.
And I said, and I just saw the seriousness on his face. And I said, "Heard, man, heard. I won't ever call you that again." And I was like, my mistake in that I was thinking it was a pet name, but I also see that that is not what it is to you. So I
Right.
will never call you that again. And he was like, "Thank you, Auntie." And I was like, "No problem." And I think that that has built a dynamic of if he feels something, he's going to say something. I created a space where he can correct me if he needs to. Every young person that I interact with, I say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, to, just like I would with any other adult, because they deserve respect too. So I have had kids say to me, like, "You call me sir, 100%, because I need to model the behavior that I want from you. So if I want respect, I have to give you respect. And respect does not come with age. It comes from you just existing because you deserve
Mm.
respect." So like 100%, like that is a big one for me of just like breaking that curse of like I knew how it felt to be a young person who didn't feel like they could say a thing. So I don't want to make nobody else feel like that. And also understanding that your feelings are real for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are upset with something I said, there have been times where, my older nieces and nephews have felt some type of way about something I said or that I did. They get to. I'm not going to argue with them about how they feel. I'm not going to tell them how they feel is stupid. I'm not going to tell them that it's not valid. I'm not going to force them to talk to me if they don't want to until they feel like they're ready for us to have a conversation. And then with open arms, they can come and talk to me about whatever they feel. And I'm not going to berate them for that. So I think that was one of the biggest things of just like, a shift in feeling like just because you are a person who is young, you don't get to say or you don't deserve respect because I definitely don't believe that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I
Mm-hmm.
think oh my god, my voice is leaving me. But I think I think that's very important because we didn't have that. It was always respect your elders, and then to your point, um you know, as a little person, you should still be able to say something as long as it's all delivered with respect. He delivered that speech to you very respectfully with
Mm-hmm.
like facts. This is what I don't like. And so, like, I think that we as adults need to break those cycles and not say, oh, well, you have to respect all your elders because maybe all your elders are not right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right.
No problem.
So, we're getting to the end, saving the best for last. I know that usually we always ask like if you could tell your younger self or vice versa about how you're doing today, right? So I want to get into a little bit of that.
Okay.
um if young Shamel could see you right
Mm-hmm.
now, what
Mm-hmm.
would surprise her the most?
I think it would be how comfortable I am in my body, in my existence. Um, there was so many years that I spent feeling so awkward and like I would never figure out me. And to see that like the person that I am now knows who she is and sits comfortable in her skin, um, is unapologetic about who she is. Um, I think that that would really surprise young me because I was so worried about being missing the mark and not being um, whatever everybody expected. And then as soon as I let go of like, I don't care what you expect. at the end of the day, like I have to, when I go on to whatever my next journey is when this life is over, I have to look back at my life and say, I'm comfortable with me. It does not matter what everybody else thought. Right. So, I think that that little me will be proud of like we got there. And, I'm thankful for that little girl for setting a foundation to make it possible for me to walk comfortably in me and being brave enough to say, I'm going to hold you in this space. I'm going to get you to the point that you can figure it out. Um, and the fact that she held those memories for me of like, I don't know why you need this, but you're going to need this later.
Hmm.
So I have like this little there's an episode of SpongeBob that makes me giggle where Squidward was SpongeBob was a waiter for a fine dining restaurant because Squidward was trying to entertain his cousin Squilliams. So SpongeBob went in and like all of his file cabinets of memories and all these things that he had in his head, he dumped all of it and just filled it with fine dining so that he could impress Squilliams. And I remember Squilliams was like, had was so impressed by SpongeBob and his service. And he went back to SpongeBob. He said, "Your service has been amazing, young man. What's your name?" And SpongeBob had thrown away everything about himself and did not know what his name was because he was just trying to hold space so that Squidward could live his best life and impress his cousin. That he threw every piece of himself away. And I think about, and I know it's a cartoon, right? But for real, SpongeBob is for adults, really. And in that moment, I remember thinking about that. And there's all of these things that I have memories of. And I'm like, I don't know why little me said we need to file that away for later. But I'm so glad that she did. Because as I'm trying to work on being a better me, I just go to that file cabinet of stuff that she stored and said, remember this. And let that be the thing that guides you towards what your next thing is. So I'm definitely thankful, and I appreciate that young lady because she's never far away. She just realizes that she doesn't have to work it hard anymore, and she can trust big me to make sure that little her is still okay.
I love that. Yeah, I have
Mm-hmm.
to agree. Little you should be very proud of all the things you've accomplished. And so, with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, we are at the end of getting to know Roz the Boss. I mean, not the end technically, because we're gonna keep talking about ourselves throughout next episodes.
Yes.
Let's call it what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But
Yes,
thank you so much, my friend, for opening your heart to us, to the audience. I know it's easier said than done, stripping down and getting vulnerable about your past, insecurities, and things that you've overcome. I appreciate you, and I am so glad that our paths cross and that we're in this project, in this life. So, together. So, thank you so much
absolutely.
again for opening up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Always.
All right. So I know usually this is a part where we talk about a little inspiration affirmation, but based on how you ended that last question, I think our only next steps or things to do is go watch that SpongeBob episode. If you ask me, now I want to go
Mm-hmm.
watch it
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think I watched that one.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
something very important that I grabbed from there was that your younger self or your mini you is still very much there. So from time to time is okay to, bring that inner child out. I mean, I know I do it all the time. I mean, I'm very unserious most of the time, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always important to not forget that because sometimes that little you might have had a lot of knowledge or a lot of good things, good feelings, good thoughts, and we store them away. So maybe now is the time, I'm sorry, to tap into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for closing us off with something so beautiful, friend.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I know you just gave us some good things to think about and to go love on our younger selves. But I also want you to talk a little bit about what we're asking from our audience since we're getting to the end of this
Mm-hmm.
episode.
Absolutely. As always, honeys. I want to first of all say thank you to Z for such thoughtful questions. Um, and just the reminders, right? So these conversations never get old, and they are a gentle reminder of your why. And like the places, the things, people, places that led you to be who you are. So I'm thankful, for those questions, the reminders of my why, and for all of you all for listening to a little bit about me. So I appreciate y'all so much. But with that, we ask that you like, share, follow, and subscribe to all of the platforms that we were on. 100% Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, all of the places where you listen and watch. Please 100% go follow, like, and share. Leave us a comment. Z, referenced it a little earlier, but 100%, we only get better based off of comments and feedback. If there's something that hit, something that sat with you, 100% let us know, right? So this is something that we want to grow and evolve, because the only reason that we got here is because other people poured into us, and now we're just trying to pour back. So if there is something that sparks conversation, let's talk about it. Babies, let's go.
Right.
As you can see, she got a lot of words, babe. So, and understanding that this community is not just me and Z. It's all of us in here together, because that is the only way that this boat continues to stay upright, is if we continue to, row it in the same direction together. So, again, thank you all for the support. Please understand that your words, your experience means something. So, in turn, say something, because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, nobody is helped if you stay what muted. So this is the encouragement to get what unmuted.
Unmuted.
Period. Point in the blank, babies. So as always, love y'all, mean it, and we will see y'all in the next episode. Hey.
Hey. Bye.
Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe. And always staying unmuted.